As growers, you spend a lot of time and effort in trialing and choosing the best controlled release fertilizers to provide your containerized crops with the proper nutrition that they require. And I know this because I was once in your shoes and always looking to grow a better crop. But while choosing the proper CRF is critical, it's also just as important to determine the proper method of application that will provide you with the greatest results. And that's what we'll talk about today in this video. Hey guys, Nelson here from Profile. Look, there are 4 basic ways to apply fertilizer: top dress, dibble, subdress, and incorporation. And each of these methods have their advantages and disadvantages. So I thought about this and wanted to put together a 4-part video series and discuss what those advantages and disadvantages are to better help you analyze and decide which method is better for your overall production needs and goals. In this first video of the series, I want to focus on top dressing, which is simply taking controlled release fertilizer, or any type of fertilizer for that matter, and applying it over the top of the media. Seems simple enough, right? Well, stay around until the end and I'll share with you some advantages and especially disadvantages that you may not have thought about and that could be affecting your plants. So one advantage of applying fertilizer as a top dress is the obvious, and that's that it can easily be applied to the surface of any container. If this is the method you choose, and many of us do at one point during the production cycle of a crop, I recommend always using a spoon to apply the fertilizer. This will keep the rate of application consistent. Another advantage you get when you top dress your fertilizer is that the application is not tied to potting, and this allows you to adjust the rate specific to pot size and the needs of that particular crop. And lastly, top dressing allows you, the grower, the opportunity to fertilize the plant after another method of application has been exhausted. An example of this would be plants that have been grown in the same container for years and they need additional feed. Now, while top dressing has its advantages, it also has some disadvantages. One major disadvantage is that CRF can be lost if a pot falls over. I'm sure this has happened to you. Heavy winds from a strong storm blow through, or even animals in the nursery knock pots over, and the prills roll out of the container, leading to a loss of fertilizer for your plant and a loss of time and money for you. Also, when you top dress, heavy rains and/or irrigation can cause fertilizer to be displaced from the container. When this happens, you can just see the CRF just jumping out of the pot and onto the ground cover and not where you wanted them to be. And I'll add to this, that even your employees, not knowing so, can remove CRF when they're weeding. This is especially true with pots that are overrun by weeds. As the weeds are removed, media comes up with it, and so does the fertilizer. So I recommend working with your employees and paying attention to that. Another very important disadvantage, and I want you to really pay attention to this, is that top dressing CRF can affect the efficacy of pre-emergent herbicides. You heard that right. It can affect the efficacy of pre-emergent herbicides and ultimately increase the amount of weed pressure in your nursery. There is evidence out there that salts from top dress fertilizer or the microorganisms feeding on the top dress fertilizer can affect the efficacy of your pre-emergent application. Also, when you top dress, think about this. The fertilizer sits on top of the media, exactly where the weed seeds will germinate and begin to feed immediately. So definitely take this into account if you top dress and are finding it challenging to keep weeds under control. And the last thing to consider if you top dress is that it can lead to a higher cost in use. If you top dress with a short-term fertilizer throughout the entire growing cycle of the plant, it'll require more labor than any other method due to the frequency of application. And in the long run, you'll also spend more on fertilizer. Thanks for watching the video. If you really want to improve your crop's nutritional program, contact me or your regional Profile sales manager. We've helped many growers and I'm sure we can do the same for you. I'll see you next time in my second video of this 4-part series where I'll go over the advantages and disadvantages of dibbling. See you then.